Gianandrea Noseda, benvenuto a Tel Aviv.
Grazie Guy.
Facciamo un po' in italiano o forse meglio di no?
Come vuoi, tu parli benissimo italiano.
I think it's better to move to English.
Okay, let's move to English.
So I welcome you to our live broadcast. Thank you for having
You're welcome, it's a pleasure.
This time with us. I'm sorry for my voice, I'm a bit cold. I'd like to start with the fact that you are our principal guest conductor, and you've been coming here for 10 years annually, so every year you are with us at least once, sometimes even more. So I assume that you probably know Tel Aviv by now pretty well, and I'm wondering if you have any favorite places to go, favorite restaurants. How's the city treating you?
The city and the orchestra and everybody is treating me very well. I feel myself, along with my wife Lucia, she's always with me, very welcomed in Tel Aviv. But as you know, being an artist of the Israel Philharmonic, when you come here, you have in 2 weeks 10 concerts without counting rehearsals. So when you don't have concert, most of the time you lie in bed. After that, you do just a walk alongside the sea. Mm-hmm. But of course, after the concert, we have been taken to some incredible restaurants. I will not name one, otherwise I will be unfair with the others. And also, you know, the fact that the hotel is just on the seaside is fantastic, because it's a fantastic combination between work and holiday. Of course, I'm not holiday, I'm not for pleasure. But it's fantastic, and being Italian, the weather and the colors is very similar to the south of my country, as you know very well.
I know. So speaking of the orchestra, I'm just wondering, since you could observe very well in the last 10 years, let's say, the orchestra and the development, I can imagine that every year that you come, you see new faces, because the generation change now is incredible in the orchestra. I think in the last 7 years, we have around 30 new members, some in key positions. And I'm wondering, how do you feel? How do you see the development, the changing?
This is the normal life of an orchestra. There is a constant change, because it's like a society. Mm-hmm. One gets senior, older, retires, one position or more positions are open. But you know what is fascinating about this orchestra? When I came here first time, it was a sort of mature orchestra with a very specific sound quality produced, very particular. Mm-hmm. You know, nowadays everybody says, oh, all the orchestras, they look like each other, because there is no more difference, America, Russia, Italy, because a global village, because everybody travels, you don't have the specific sound. Well, when I came here, the first years was incredible, the impact, the sound produced by the orchestra had to me. But the most incredible thing is, even if 30 people, even more, where new people are in the orchestra has in its genes this kind of dark sound. Of course, there is the freshness of the young blood, of course, the young energy, but it's fantastic not to lose that lesson. With more energy, with more involvement, but still to keep that. That makes this orchestra unique. That's why it's fantastic. It's like to go back to a certain old way to make music. I'm not saying the orchestra soul is sounding in an old way, but this kind of old way in a good sense, you know.
Well, I think, you know, we all, my generation, we all grew up literally in those corridors here. We used to come to concerts,
and to listen to music.
And we got this sound. I'd love to speak now a little bit about our main piece of the program, the Rossini, the Stabat Mater. It's incredible piece. I find very powerful, very touching and dramatic, and it's incredible the circumstance of this piece that was written. So Rossini actually stopped composing for 10 years. You know, didn't compose anything.
He stopped composing operas at a certain point after William Tell. He decided, okay, whatever I had to say, I did. So now I will do something else. He was a very good chef. He invented new recipes. He enjoyed life very much. But, he didn't stop composing. He kept composing small pieces for piano that he called the pieces of my old age scenes. This is the scenes of my old age. And he didn't think those pieces to be played. They just composed for pleasure, probably for himself. But when he was asked in Spain, I think, to compose a Stabat Mater, of course he was very aware about the Stabat Mater by Pergolesi, which is a masterpiece. He accepted the idea. So 4 years after he decided not to compose any opera anymore, he started to compose a Stabat Mater, but he composed only the first 6 pieces. Yeah. Because one commissioner just wanted to have a Rossini manuscript in his collection. Just to be in the collection. Okay, Rossini wrote 6 pieces and asked someone else, a colleague, okay, finish the work, we will give to this guy, I get the money. But of course, when came to the point to a performance, one editor wanted to publish it. So that is not anymore question for a collector, just to be, in one place locked in. I said, no, I cannot accept, it's not 100% my hand. So 10 years later, he composed the last 4 pieces. So number 7, 8, 9, 10. And after that, the publisher published that in
and the style is amazing. It's almost a new style, almost Verdiani.
He's very looking much ahead for his time. If you consider there are 7, 8 years between the first 6 pieces and the last 4, there is anyway a sort of continuation of, but after Guglielmo Tell, even Guglielmo Tell, William Tell, showed a different kind of way of composing. So he developed this kind of new era. And the other piece, the Petite Messe Solennelle, much later, was also a sacred piece. Incredible. So he stopped composing opera. But it's wrong to say he stopped composing music.
Right. And it's interesting to say, because I remember in the first rehearsal you said, I don't consider this a sacred piece or a religious piece. How come?
I think he's more talking to the soul, to the spirituality of everybody. It's not important to be Christian or to be a believer to get this music. It's like the Requiem by Verdi. It's coming to the heart of everybody because it's so honest. The integrity of this music is so spiritually strong. And in a way also tender, so arrives to everybody. So I always consider it as a human approach by Rossini to get close to the idea of God.
Yeah. And I'm interested as a musician, of course, and working with you, one of the great Italian interpreters today, and you spoke a little thing in the rehearsal, again, about the different styles between Rossini and Verdi. And I think it can be really interesting if you can speak a little bit about it again. So we have the same fire, but it burns differently, or in
it is true. With Verdi, when Verdi put the fire on, you risk to burn yourself. With Rossini, you should always look the fire in the fireplace. You get too close, you burn. But there is a sort of distance, not because Rossini is less involved than Verdi, but because he composed it, 30 years earlier. So the type of, to be restrained, to be sort of, not detached, but behaving well, polite. But there is fire. There is fire in it.
Absolutely. Maestro, I would love to give you our IPO questionnaire or quiz.
That is dangerous.
No, it's all easy. It's 10 questions. Quick questions, quick answers.
Okay.
And maybe we speak a little bit about it. So, what's the first thing you do when you get home after traveling? Of course, you're traveling a lot.
I go out in the balcony and I look my garden, if there are flowers, if they blossom. This is in the spring, of course, or in the fall, if the leaves are still there. But the first thing I go out, I look the view of the lake and the garden, the conditions
Lago
of the
Maggiore?
garden. Lago Maggiore, Lake
Che
Maggiore.
bello. And what's your favorite food? I'm interested, especially I know you're a great cook.
I adore, of course, as an Italian pasta, but probably the food I like mostly is risotto.
Risotto.
Risotto, when it's well cooked, is incredible.
Your favorite concert hall?
My favorite concert hall is Suntory Hall in Tokyo. There are several, but
Sure,
if you
sure.
ask just one, one shot is Suntory Hall.
And your favorite airport to travel?
I like very much Copenhagen airport because a lot of wood and you don't feel to be in the airport, even when you have to connect with different flights.
Yeah. What relaxes you?
Relax me to read books, to watch sport, television, to walk. Just walk in any place, in the cities, best in the nature, in the forest. That's really relaxes me and makes me feel part of the bigger world.
Yeah, nice. What would you be if you weren't a musician? Is it possible?
It's difficult because I started to learn the notes and to try to play the piano before I was going in the first class of the school. So for me, the language is very natural. Yeah. But I don't know, probably when I was a teenager, I was a sort of promising football player. At a certain point, I had to make a decision when I was 16, 17, what to do. I decided for music.
Good decision.
Thank you.
So, what musical piece most inspired you to become a musician? I remember mine was Firebird, for example, that we played last year.
We played together.
Yeah.
It was a very good performance. I think there are few pieces. Probably one of the most powerful, when I listened for the first time, I was really shocked, was Mozart G minor symphony, and 2 or 3 years later, Don Giovanni, recording. Oh, yeah. And a few years later, the Matthäus Passion by Bach, and the Sacre de Printemps.
Yeah. Great. What are you reading these days? You spoke about books.
In these days, unfortunately, I'm reading a lot of newspapers because there are many things in Italy happening. Yeah. Also, the situation, political situation, they don't they don't come together to make a government. So I try to be informed because I don't like to be seen as an artist disconnected with the world. So for now, the book is there. I have on my is a sort of book. Connected to the history of Italy in the 90s, at beginning of 2000, so 21st century. Connection, State, Mafia. That is a book. It's not very, let's say, enjoyable, but it is nice to know it.
Yeah. Who influenced you the most?
In music or in general? I met very good people. Yeah. I've been lucky because I think personality of every one of us is a sort of combination of many gifts you get from people and you put and you take in your pocket. A little by little your personality. So in music I had very good teachers, very good figures in front of me. In the school, as a friend, also some very good friends. And I have to say, I'm very grateful to Dad, Mom, and my brother. My brother is younger, but in a way I respect him because he has a sensibility. He's not a musician. He has a special sensibility. So also to grow together has been very, very beautiful.
Great. Last question. What's a piece of advice you received that you cherish and you can share? We don't have a lot of time, so...
do better you can what you have to do.
Fantastic. Maestro, grazie mille.
Grazie a te, è stato un piacere, Guy. E grazie del concerto.